Hoki Niksukwa. My name is Inge Gene Kini Taneko Pitaki. Welcome to my online Blackfoot grammar course. In this lesson, we learn how to write Blackfoot consonants. If you want to know more about how to pronounce them and how to transcribe them phonetically, please go back to lesson 4. In most cases, I will let you listen to an audio clip from a fluent speaker so you can hear the sound as naturally as possible. All these audio clips come from our Blackfoot Language Resources website. The first thing you notice when comparing the English alphabet with the Blackfoot alphabet is that the Blackfoot alphabet has way less letters than the English one. The English alphabet has 26 letters. The Blackfoot alphabet has 13 letters. It has the 12 letters A, H, I, K, M, N, O, P, S, T, W, Y, plus the extra apostrophe symbol for the glottal stop. 14 of the letters used in English are not used for Blackfoot. In this lesson, we're going to focus on how Blackfoot consonants are written. And we're not going to do that in alphabetical order, but in order of difficulty. So we'll start with letters and sounds that are most like English, and we'll end with letters and sounds that are least like English. The easiest to learn are sounds that have the same pronunciation in English and Blackfoot and are written with the same letter. The first one is the letter M. If you can say and write this in English, you can say and write it in Blackfoot.
Mestu Makoi
Mohkinstsis.
The second letter is the Blackfoot letter N. If you can say and write this in English, you can say and write it in Blackfoot.
Namu Napi Ya'a.
The next letter is the Blackfoot letter S. Again, if you can say this in English and you can write it in English, then you can also say and write it in Blackfoot.
Sa.
Sa'a
Sinopa.
The next letter is the Blackfoot letter W. This sound cannot occur at the beginning of a word in Blackfoot.
Nitawaki
Nokuai.
And the last easy sound is the Blackfoot letter Y. This sound can also not occur at the beginning of a word in Blackfoot.
Makuyi. Nitaya kutuyakst. Apikai.
Next, we're going to look at the letters P, T, and K. They are pretty similar between English and Blackfoot, but there is a small pronunciation difference that sometimes causes confusion. We'll introduce the letters first and then talk about the details. The first letter in this group is P.
Pita.
Booth
Piskan.
The second letter in this group is T.
Taka. Chama.
And the third letter in this group is K.
Ganeskina
Gisto. Gonsko.
We can now explain why the letters B, D, and G are not used in the Blackfoot alphabet. The sounds P, T, and K are called voiceless stops. Their pronunciation is very similar between English and Blackfoot, with one difference. In English, these sounds often have aspiration in words like P, T, key. Aspiration is a little extra puff of air that you hear after the stop release. You can feel this for yourself. Hold the flat palm of your hand in front of your mouth a little bit below and say the English word P. You should feel a little puff of air against your hand when you say the P. Now say the Blackfoot word pita. If you said it right, so not with an English accent, you should not feel any air move against your hand. The Blackfoot voiceless stops P, T, and K are not aspirated. This absence of aspiration makes them often sound like they're voiced to an English-speaking ear. And that means that a Blackfoot P can sound like an English B, Blackfoot T can sound like an English D, and Blackfoot K can sound like an English G, like a G sound. In fact, if you want to work on your pronunciation of these sounds, it's often a good idea to try to pronounce them more like those English BDG sounds. But Blackfoot doesn't have a meaningful differences between PTK on the one hand and BDG on the other hand. So we only need one of those sets. Don France could have chosen the letters B, D, and G to match a little closer to English in some cases, but he preferred to stay close to the international phonetic alphabet symbols, and he chose the letters P, T, and K. Now we get to the two consonant letters that are more complicated because their pronunciation may vary and because they don't match a sound or letter in English. The first one is the letter H. It has three pronunciations depending on where it occurs in the word. And only one of those pronunciations is like English. The other ones are not, and when you're learning Blackfoot, you will have to work a bit on how to pronounce those. To make things even more complicated, there's also quite a bit of variation between speakers and dialects. At the beginning of a word, the letter H sounds just like in the English word happy. An example is the Blackfoot word hanya. The letter H can also occur after vowels. When it comes after single or double O, or after a single or double A, it is what we call the voiceless velar fricative. Sounds like this g. This sound doesn't exist in English.
Nachts.
Sikohkotoki.
Ohkokit.
When the letter H comes after a single or double I, it is a so-called voiceless palatal fricative sound, h. There's much pronunciation variation, and many people pronounce this more as a sh or s sound. Just listen.
Ishkichika.
Istasinakyo.
Ishputau.
The last letter is the apostrophe. This stands for the voiceless glottal stop. It sounds like a short pause. In English, it occurs in the phrase she eats and serves to separate the words when one word ends with the same vowel as the beginning of the next word. In some British English accents, you can hear it when the spelling has a double T, like in some British pronunciations of the words butter, which sounds like butter. When a glottal stop occurs between vowels, it is often fairly easy to hear. It's like a little break between the vowels.
Yang a. Sa e.
Atochsin.
When a glottal stop occurs before a consonant, it can be much harder to hear, especially before a voiceless stop like P, T, or K.
Ekkatup.
Ni tawaki. Abisi.
Consonants can be written single or double, both in English and in Blackfoot, but the meaning of that is different between the languages. In English, a double consonant actually often tells us something about the vowel in front of it. Compare the English words rubble and ruble. The B sound is the same in both words. One isn't longer than the other. The double B makes us pronounce the letter U as an sound in rubble. And the single B makes us pronounce the letter U as an U sound in ruble. In Blackfoot, a double consonant means a longer consonant. This is also called a geminate. Listen to the difference between the first and the second K in the word for dove or pigeon.
Kakko.
With the second one, there is a slight pause, as if it is held just a little bit longer before being pronounced. This difference between short and long sounds can be very hard to hear, which means that you will often have to check the dictionary to make sure you're correctly writing single and double consonants. In this lesson, you have heard the voices of Kim Blackwater, Jessie Blackwater, Peter Chiefcalf, Natalie Creighton, Shirley Crowshoe, Carl Singer, and Joanne Yellowhorn. And that concludes the consonant letters. Shoot me an email if you have any questions. You can find our online dictionary, story archive, resources, and recordings of almost 400 conversational phrases in 3 dialects on the Blackfoot Language Resources website at blackfoot.algonquianlanguages.ca.